Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Lethal Weapon. So in this episode, we had the continuation of the Riggs and Palmer situation, but it seems that Palmer has gone missing because Riggs, at the beginning of the episode, when he's leaving the hotel, he sees Palmer talking to this guy, and that guy later on shows up dead. And then Riggs and Roger are looking all over the place for her, but the dude that the FBI isn't saying anything to them about it. He's like, yo, dude, just tell me that she's okay, if she came into work or not. He's like, oh, she's taking a day off, so blah, 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 not really giving him an answer. Obviously, Riggs sneaks in and finds out for himself, and the dude's like being an ass about it, being like, oh, the fact of the matter is, obviously, if she's not calling you because she doesn't want to talk to you. And after just meeting you, I can understand why. Which Riggs normally would have punched him in the face immediately, but then Riggs was like, no, I'm going to keep my cool, my composure collected, because it's like he's not worth the time. All he needs to do is find Palmer. It's so interesting. Like, obviously before he was so concerned about trying to get close to her, being afraid to get close to her, but now we see like how much he does care about her. Because the last time, like 2 episodes ago, there was a whole situation of like, oh, he thought she was dead, and obviously the bullets hit her vest, and you saw the look of like, oh my god, Palmer, like he was scared. So obviously the feelings are there. Um, which fortunately, like, why didn't he say anything? I mean, obviously later on in the episode you find out why he didn't say anything, because he was the one that was like the mole. He was leaking information to the cartel guy that this was all connected to Flores. Who, this is the same cartel guy that was connected to Riggs before, right? Because it was like was that him or was that someone else? The whole situation, it was about the dude's nephew or whatever, that he ended up shooting his own nephew, and it was a whole, I think it's the same guy. I could be wrong. But essentially, in this particular episode, obviously we find out with Palmer is okay. It turns out that she was protecting a woman named Maria, who, interestingly enough, I think her character's name was Nora. She was on the first season, during the first season of Revolution. She was one of the main characters. I think Nora was her name. I can't remember. It's been a while, so. But protecting her because apparently she fathered one of Flores' children, because he was kind of like one of her mistresses that, like, oh, he's the type of guy that, like, oh, you don't choose to be with him, he chooses you. It's a situation where it's like you can't necessarily turn him down because you know who he is, and if you turn him down, most likely your family would get killed. So she kind of had to be with him for like 4 years and had a baby by him and ran because she didn't want her baby mixed up in that life. Which also, side note, the guy that plays Gideon, the guy that's chasing after him, the one that fires the rocket launcher. Which, once again, I have to bring up the fact is, you keep noticing these things, they love getting rigs, they love jumping out windows in this show. But they always have to kind of make it even more intense every time, because this time it's like him and Palmer jumping out the motel window with a fire when you have a grenade launcher being launched at you. Not grenade launcher, rocket launcher. I knew that didn't sound right in my head. Nevertheless, but the actor who plays Gideon is from the. He was one of the lead actors in the show The Glades, and he was also one of the leads in the USA show Satisfaction. I'm wondering, is that done now or something? Because the fact is that he's in this. I mean, obviously, you're an actor. You can work in whatever you want to. So that just caught my interest. That was kind of interesting seeing him play a bad guy like that. Nevertheless, there was an interesting decision that Maria ended up making in this episode, where she was kind of like, she was in the mentality of like, maybe it wasn't a good idea to take her baby. Yes, her baby's dad, Flores, is a cartel guy and a very bad guy, but it's the fact is keeping your child on a run. Like, she wanted to give her child the best chance, and it's like, yes, he's not the best person, but the fact is her baby wouldn't always have to be looking over her shoulder. Her baby wouldn't have to be looking over its shoulder for the rest of its life, always being concerned about, hiding away from its dad, And she's like, I made that choice for my child, and maybe I should have waited until my child was a little older to kind of make that choice for. Which Roger's kind of like, no, as a parent, you make that choices for them, especially at that young age. It comes with the territory. You dare to protect them. Which obviously Maria decides to, she's like, no, I can't do this. I have to give my baby, its best chance, and wanted to return it to Flores. Which to me, like, I get where you're coming from. And Roger's like, Roger and Palmer understand. We're like, yeah, we get it. You were scared and you were just trying to do the right thing. And it's like at the end of it, it all worked out in the end anyway. But it's a situation where it's like, your baby wouldn't have been better off. It would have been better off with you because you're a very loving and caring person. And obviously, yes, he would care for the child because it's his, but you don't want your child growing up in that environment. But I guess it's a situation where it's like she felt like her child would have gotten the best opportunities if she left him with Flores. But it's like that's not, like I said, I'm not trying to fault her for it. It's a very hard situation to be in, and it's like I couldn't understand what it's like to be in her situation. She just don't try to do what's best for her baby, hence why she took him in the first place. So, but she was right, which she was right to do in the first place. So, but I did like the mentality that Riggs was trying to instill in Roger in this episode, because obviously Roger was supposed to act as the bait, and Riggs kind of has him through a scope, got his back and everything to take the bad guys out when they come. But it's a situation of like, think you're bulletproof, Roger, and you'll be bulletproof. He's like, that's stupid. Because, he was talking to Trish because Trish got the whole new job opportunity. One of her clients back when she was working with her firm fired the firm because they let Trish go. And he was like, screw that, Trish isn't here anymore, so I'm not going to work with you guys anymore. And so basically, he's like a billionaire, so he sent this whole like big basket full of stuff at the beginning of the episode to her because he wanted to talk to her about working with him again. So, and he even gave her a blank paper. She's like, yeah, it's blank. He's like, yeah. So for you to put up your time, your money, however much time you want off, you can set your own schedule, set how much you get paid because you're worth every bit of it. So it's like, and he said something that even she kind of says in the episode, being like, oh, you should always err on the side of saying yes. So be more spontaneous, more willing to say yes, don't always err on the side of caution. So that was kind of an interesting take that she even tries to get Roger to listen to later on in the episode, because obviously she wanted to spontaneously go to Paris, and it's like, oh, that's just not their lives and everything she wants it to be. But she also brings up the fact is that always err on the side of saying yes, Roger, because the fact of the matter is because you don't want to look back on our lives in 20 years and be like, oh, we didn't take this opportunity to live, to kind of experience things, especially because as a cop, he would miss out on a lot. Obviously, as a cop, it does present him the opportunity to be there for his family too, but it's like not to the extent that it probably could be if he, don't let the job become first, kind of let your family come first too situation. Not trying to bag on him or anything, just be like, you don't want to look back on life and have regrets that you didn't take more chances, that work kind of got in the way and came first when you should have been off having more fun or being with your family, spending time with them and stuff. So, because it is something she has to worry about too, because she says to Riggs, like, I know you can hear me, Martin, so let me tell you this. I'm fine with my husband being late, but I don't want a late husband. He's like, you got it, man. And I did, but getting back to what I was making earlier, the fact is that Roger's thinking, like, okay, I am bulletproof, and Gideon's at them like a sniper about to take them out, and he's running, and there's bullets kind of coming their direction, but, Roger believing he's bulletproof. And I like that moment where it's like Riggs kind of shoots the sign and it ends up swinging down and blocking a bullet from Gideon. And when Gideon does try to get away, you have Palmer showing up and ramming him with Roger's neighbor's car, which there was that whole bit about Roger being pissed. That's the same neighbor that started crap with him previously before, isn't it? I'm pretty sure that's the same dude. But he's got this awesome car that Roger really likes. It's like only 600 of them were made and stuff like that. And I was thinking like Palmer had commandeered it. It's like, yeah, I'm with the FBI, I need your car or something like that. But a moment later on at the end of the episode when he gets it back and he's like, oh, Roger, do you know what happened here? He's like, yeah, I have no idea. I guess she just randomly waited till he was gone and stole it from him. So just shows you how badass Palmer is too. It was so sweet because it's like, I like them coming together. But it did kind of bring up an interesting thing. The fact is that honestly they don't really know each other, because when Palmer went missing, Roger was like, so tell me, okay, so where does she live? He's like, Riggs is like, I actually don't know where she lives. I was like, well, tell me about her friends. It's like, oh, you're really taking things slow, aren't you? It's like, yeah, they like each other's company, but I mean, I guess it is a situation of like, he's just been in a previous relationship and it's just like, he's having a hard time letting go, so he hasn't really taken those steps for, Palmer brings it up at the beginning, the fact is they don't ever even go on dates and stuff, which Riggs kind of makes up for later on in the episode when he kind of asks her out for dinner. Because obviously there's also the whole situation with talking to Delgado, the city attorney. And it came, like, obviously he had the DEA guy, which actually was a good thing, because then when we found out that dude was a douchebag, once again, that he was a bad guy, because he was he was the mole in the whole operation. But Delgado had originally suspended him mainly because obviously he's like, it wasn't personal. He's like, I was following protocol. He's like, and that was also me protecting you because if I'd let you stay on the case, all that would have done is reflect badly upon you. So I was just, trying to do you a favor. So he's like, because he does legitimately care about Martin. And at that time, he also the conversation let it slip because Martin was like, I hope you don't think this isn't about me and Palmer. Like, she's not my girlfriend. The fact of the matter is, like, I'm not, because, Riggs almost felt like he had to explain himself because he wouldn't want, the city attorney to think like, oh, I was, cheating on your daughter, which Avery and then also Roger found out. It's like, finally found out, and they're like, why didn't you say anything about that? It's like, now it makes more sense why, like, Riggs was put here, why the city attorney's taken such an interest in him. It's because of that. Because originally, before, like, when he had taken interest in Martin, they were like, has Martin been acting a little crazy than normal? And Roger was kind of like, not. I mean, at that time, he was acting a little off, obviously, but it was a situation where it's like, he's like, to warrant the city attorney's attention, not really. But, it's a situation where Martin was all saying, it was like, I'm sorry. He's like, it's not anything going on between me and Palmer. He's like, I hope for your sake, I hope there is. Because, like I said, like, he understands that Martin loved Miranda, but he's like, Miranda wouldn't want you just to stay where you are. The fact of the matter is, life is always moving in one direction, and that's forward. Move with it. Because, he does ultimately, he's like, I know you love my daughter. Don't ever think would think otherwise. I know how wholeheartedly you love my daughter and how much you miss her. And he's like, because he's like, another reason why he suspended Riggs is because he's like, I know what you do when someone you care about is in danger or when you lose them, what happens to you. And he's like, I didn't want, I want you to be away from the situation so that wouldn't be a possibility, he's like, if something's going on between you and Palmer, I want it to happen. I want you to be happy because it's like, you are, even if Miranda is going, you are still like a son to me. It's kind of, how I'm inferring from it. So it's a beautiful thing. And things between him and Palmer, like I said, going on a date and everything, but then it kind of turns out like, hey, she's got some bad news. And so like, the moment I tell you this, you're not going to want me to stay. The fact is, when she was in the trailer, she had looked at Miranda's face and she had, like, felt like she had seen Miranda somewhere before. And she looked it up, and it turns out that, in fact, Miranda's death wasn't an accident. It was, in fact, a hit. Specifically by Gideon. He most likely is kind of probably one of Flores' main people. So he targeted Miranda specifically. So her death wasn't just some random car accident. It's like, no, she was specifically targeted. And now it changes everything because originally Riggs had brought that up before, especially because the nephew had brought it up. And when the guy originally was driving away, he was being like, yeah, Riggs thinks this was all about him. He doesn't really know that, kind of keep an eye on him because they needed to find out how much Riggs really knew. Because they needed to know if he would, because, Riggs was kind of under the impression that maybe Miranda was targeted because he was, Riggs, because obviously the nephew and Riggs had their past. I was thinking it was about that. To me, I mean, obviously with this discovery, I'm thinking it has to deal with her father. She was specifically targeted to kind of get her father to kind of back down, just like, it's like, oh, the city attorney was coming after me or whatever the case may be. And so he wanted to deal with Miranda as a means of kind of trying to get him to back down or something like that. Or maybe there's more to the city attorney's past that we just don't know about that led to that particular situation. So it's definitely going to be interesting going forward because, this new discovery, what this means for him and Palmer. I mean, for Riggs, he's dead set on revenge because, like I said, he had that mentality before that something happened to her, but now he's looking back. He's like, no. He had, like, after that episode, he had thought, like, no, I was just reading too much into it. It was nothing more. Because he even had Scorsese look into Miranda's murder, but it was like her death, but it wasn't, anything suspicious. But now, because of Palmer, he realizes there was more to it. So for the little bits I've seen, it looks like Riggs goes on a rampage. Obviously, the first person he's going to end up talking to is Gideon, especially because Gideon's the one that performed a hit on her. So it's like one step forward for Riggs and then just another step back. But maybe this could all be what he needs to get the closure he needs, especially because, I mean, it's a situation where I feel like Palmer did the right thing because Riggs is better off knowing the truth. Because if he didn't know the truth, the people who hurt his wife and killed his baby too would have gotten away with it. So, but really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, love life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.